And how many times have we not leave? There's no sense in this love hangover. Please come back to me. Cause I can't forget your ways. I still remember our first kiss. Oh, I'm nervous and trembling, smoking cigarettes at night. Ooh, wondering where you've been, smoking cigarettes at night. Ooh, I can't cope with this, smoking cigarettes at night. You're the one to help me quit. Cigarettes at night, in the midnight hour, late in the midnight hour. I see the edge of your face, ooh, 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 and it makes it hard for me to breathe. What can I do to change your decision? Please work with me, yeah, yeah. Sometimes my eyes won't close from weeping, and sometimes I can't wake up from sleeping. Cause you keep calling me in my dreams. I can't forget your ways. I still remember our first kiss. Ooh, you got me nervous. What up, what up, what up, what up? Hold on. There we go. What's up? What's up? Man, meeting got canceled, man. But the brother had some situations, so I get it, man. He had some issues he had to fix. His brother that worked with the company, so had to reschedule. And here we are. I'm back for at least about 45 more minutes before I got another meeting. I'm a busy man, busy man. What's up, Jaleel? You back? What's up? What's up? So, guys, I wanted to come back, man, because I felt like we really didn't get to the bottom of the crux of some of these issues we were talking about. I think that's one of the main things, man, that I wanted to kind of talk about in that video that I never really got to. Here we go. I don't want it that big. So this thing is, hold on. So let me take this down a little bit.
Is totally gone. What's happening in the community is a direct reflection of what's going on with the culture. The culture of the single parent homes. The most popular music out right now is rap music that talks about selling drugs, go to prison. It's cool to sleep with X amount of women. We have leaders within the community that are leading us astray. J.C. Watts called them poverty pimps. They're making millions. While areas like this, there should be no reason why Frederick Douglass's house is surrounded by poverty, but it is. There's a disconnect with our heritage. We're in a place where, as a community, as a whole, for generation after generation, we've been lied to.
A disconnect with our heritage. If Frederick Douglass represents a history that is ignored today, then what other parts of our history are slowly being lost? Rock Hill, South Carolina is home to Marvin Rogers. Marvin knows a thing or two about history that is not being taught today. Marvin is a community leader in Rock Hill. He ran for South Carolina State House in 2008, garnering 32% of the vote. An amazing feat given the fact that Marvin is a conservative in a mostly liberal Democrat community.
If you live in Rock Hill, you tell someone you live around Saluda Street, they know you're essentially talking about the inner city. It is essentially ground zero of the black community of Rock Hill. People would associate Saluda Street with an economically depressed area, an area that has a lot of crime, an area that has a lot of joblessness, despair, and hopelessness.
And you say there's gang violence now moved in?
It's growing, yes. It's pushing down in this area. Some from Charlotte, the Rock Hill Police Department, is reporting that there is some gangs germinating in this area. Some of the kids that I mentor tell me that, that they have been made offers as far as recruitment into the gangs. And in South Carolina,
I turned it down.
In our prisons,
I turned it down.
Is black men. And you wonder where the fathers are, who are supposed to be in the homes.
I turned it down. Tell me if you are getting feedback now. I turned it down. That was the volume on his headphones were up.
Up for the most part. That they go. I think that wasn't a gun, was it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Dr. King, if he was alive today, would he recognize what he set in motion?
He would be very dismayed at some of the trends that are taking place in the Black community today. Teen-on-teen violence. You've heard it before.
Mm-hmm.
The number one killer of young Black men in America is young black men.
Young black men.
Those are the things I think that would dishearten Dr. King. And those are the things that should dishearten all of us, no matter what our political stripe is. And what I find in light of that, the reason that conservatives have not had as much success in wooing the Black vote, conservatives want to come into and talk social issues because African Americans tend to be culturally conservative.
Right.
However, when you're talking to a group of people who are wondering, how are we going to keep up Tuesday? How am I going to buy groceries on Friday? You come in this community, you've got to talk pocketbook politics. So what conservatives must do is fight for pro-small business policies that will eliminate a lot of the bureaucratic red tape, that will offer incentives for entrepreneurs who bring businesses to this community, because that is what's creating the jobs. And when you see jobs created, that raises a tax base that goes towards better schools. And there's
what's up, my city?
And so that's the type of messaging that's very effective. But once again, we don't have enough conservatives who show up in these communities to bring that type of a message.
Now, Marvin, you know some history that a lot of people, especially Black people, aren't aware of. Tell me about it.
When I began researching the history between Black Americans and the Republican Party, plays out like a drama, because the Republican Party was founded as an abolitionist movement. That took place in Ripon, Wisconsin in 1854. It was a group of abolitionists who met to resist the spread of slavery to the Western territories. First Republican platform that was written said that we believe that slavery is a violation of the rights of man. The Republican senators and congressmen were the ones who are responsible for passing the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th amendments of the Constitution. And those amendments gave former slaves voting rights.
Who backpedaling, Sean? What you talking about, bro?
Citizenship and due process of law. And so it was the Republicans, not the Democrats, in Congress.
I mean, when you talking about stuff that's 100 years old, that's not going to carry the same weight. So you got to kind of start with the so-called Southern strategy. That's where you really, if you are conservative, you want to start. Now, I can start there, but I'm going to let him talk.
Passed that legislation, which was essentially the advent of the civil rights movement. The African-American support of Republicans was strong all the way up until the 1930s. Then there were three major moments that caused the Black vote to precipitously move from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. The first was with the New Deal and President Roosevelt. Now, mind you, Franklin Roosevelt didn't have any designs on including African Americans as he came up with the ideas to combat the Great Depression. However, Eleanor Roosevelt was a genuine humanitarian.
The problem is a lot of Black wealth was lost during the Great Depression. You know what I'm saying? Sean Isaac, man, you just come in and just want to start some shit, brother. I ain't for it today, bro. I'm not even gonna acknowledge that shit you talking. Just let it play. I ain't even say what I believe in. I'm just playing the damn thing. You come in, that's bullshit. Like, damn, bro, just wait.
And she was the one that encouraged President Franklin Roosevelt to create the Black Cabinet that featured stellar African Americans such as Mary McLeod Bethune and poet Frank Horn. That type of attention hadn't been given to the Black community since the days of the radical Republicans during Reconstruction in the 1870s and Abraham Lincoln. Then the second phase was in the late 1940s with President Truman. President Truman desegregated the military. That made the Black people who fought in World War II, the Korean War, when they came back, they were eligible for the GI Bill and other military benefits. And that created a small a substantial black middle class. And President
Okay, Sean, we good.
I give him a lot of credit for having steel in his spine, because at that time the Democratic Party was still the party of Jim Crow, the party that created Jim Crow, the party that created the Ku Klux Klan. He essentially changed the party of Jim Crow to the party of civil rights almost overnight at the 1948 Democratic Convention. Republican President Eisenhower passed a Civil Rights Act in 1957. Now, CL, check this out. The Civil Rights Act of 1957 had the provisions that Lyndon Johnson's legislation had in 1964 and 1960.
Now, check this out. Now, they passed the bill in 57. The same exact bill.
Desegregating public facilities and the like. The 57 Civil Rights package that was championed by Eisenhower was filibustered, watered down, and pretty much had its teeth taken out of it in the Senate.
By who?
Whenever I check congressional records, two of the senators who were foes of Eisenhower was Senator Lyndon Johnson of Texas and Senator John F. Kennedy of Massachusetts.
That's what they don't tell you. Everybody act like Kennedy was such a good guy, but I just love to play little shit like that. What's up, Novell?
Almost 10 years later, in 1965, Lyndon Johnson passes essentially the same legislation. He leans on Republican support in the House. And
Democrats wasn't with that shit. The Republicans, as a percentage, voted in more. Let's keep going.
It passed, and if it wasn't for Republican Senator Everett Dirksen of Illinois, a Democratic filibuster against the '64 Civil Rights Act would have killed the legislation. So if it wasn't for a Republican senator from Illinois, we would not have had the 1964 Civil Rights.
If at that time, now look, I'm not like trying to act like the Republicans are just love blacks like that, but I love to tell the truth. Let me tell you something. Percentage-wise, you didn't even have as many Republicans in office at the time. So in number, more Democrats voted, but actually they was like 65, 70% of the damn seats in Congress and in the Senate. Just so you guys know. So Republicans, a larger percentage, almost 80% of them voted it in, 85%.
The Republicans in the House and the Senate voted for the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act at higher percentage.
All right, I'm gonna share this right. I'm gonna let y'all see this just to show y'all I ain't no Milli Vanilli. I'm telling y'all the truth. Let me show y'all something. Hold on, let me put it this way. So you guys should see this. Damn, it's just black. Ain't that some shit? Damn. Ain't that some shit? Let me do a screenshot. I'm gonna do a screenshot. Give me a second. I'm gonna do a screenshot on them. Damn, and the damn screenshot black too. Ain't that crazy? Damn. Let me try it again. Nope. Won't let me take a screenshot. Damn. Apple got their shit blocked up. You can't get this. Is something I got off Apple. So let me keep going. Oh well, let me stop sharing my screen. Basically, I'm gonna tell you about the percentages. In the House in 1964, 63% of Democrats, 80% of Republicans. In the Senate in 1964, 69% of Democrats, 82% of Republicans. In 1965, Civil Rights Act, 78% of Democrats, 82% of Republicans. In the Senate in 1965, 73% of Democrats, 94% of Republicans. So, and I like to talk about this when they talk about that Southern strategy shit. I'm going to keep it going.
Everything you're saying is, you said you can have your own opinions, but you can't create your own facts.
That is correct. African Americans are the only demographic in America who averages a 90% and above voting yield for one party, which happens to be the Democratic Party. So what do those numbers do? That is a monolithic imbalance. So that puts Black Americans, the Black electorate, in an unenviable position of being taken for granted by one party and ignored by the other. And neither is optimal. And the only way to change that dynamic is to become unpredictable again. to stop looking at the party label and start looking at the leader.
And we are becoming unpredictable, which is good, which is great. I think the more these Democrats keep losing, they're gonna have to come with some tangibles. So I do think that's good. Now, what that is and how that looks is another situation. But I do agree that we shouldn't just go vote blindly like that. Straight down Democrat. I don't believe in that shit.
Of the messenger, looking at the effectiveness behind the message, focus more on the person and not the party.
I think a lot of us do it because of pride and fear. My family always voted this way. Right. My people always voted this way. If you go against the grain, we gonna outcast you. Many times we vote and don't know why we vote the way we vote. If we as a society, as a people, as even Americans would understand the reason why we do certain things, we come to understand better why we operate the way we operate. A lot of times we don't treasure that right to be an individual and to think freely and to think independently. We rather think as groups or as our society or our culture tells us. You'll make a great conservative. Conservative Democrat. African Americans have not really had anything to call their own, and so we become territorial. You may come in and infiltrate my people.
I don't think Republicans offer tangibles because, first of all, they don't technically believe that they can get the black vote. I think and a lot of times Republicans send black conservatives into the black community. They're going to have to get off their ass, come sit down, look people in the face and talk. I'm not just some super Republican guy. I'm not. But I do believe I'm probably 75% of what they push for, I believe in as well. I just think that they're not pushing the right shit. They're not getting off their ass, coming into the communities and doing what they're supposed to do. And if they don't, they're not going to get shit. You're going to have to come and sit down and talk some real politics with black folks if you want their vote. That's what I think. Democrats come and talk about bottom feeder shit. It's wide open right now for the Republicans to do something. Trump is a perfect guy to do it. I don't think he has to because he know he finna win anyway. So I don't think he gonna do it. But I do think if Republicans come and destabilize that black vote with real tangibles, they'll force the Democrats to do that. But you're gonna have to come with tangibles.
Because if I get my people around you, then they're gonna want to be influenced by you more so than me. We have no choice but to be unified. Because guess what? The gangs, they're unified. You better believe it. The pimps, they're unified. It's like we have to address this cancer that's killing our community and put our hearts, heads, and spirit together to come up with a cure. I'm thankful for people such as Marvin, regardless of political status, regardless of race, and willing to come to the table with those who may differ from them, even in their views, on coming up with ways to fix it. The words that have been spoken around this table tonight, gentlemen, may be the key and even a solution to what ails America. May be found, Marvin, right here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I believe it. I believe it. As I look around this country, indeed, America is a story of triumph. But there are those who continue to say it's not and use the issue of race to divide us. We're in Raleigh, North Carolina today because the local school board has decided to end busing within the school system. The NAACP has planned a march in protest of the school board's decision. The NAACP claims that ending the busing will resegregate the school system. What makes this issue very interesting? The school board is backed by the local Tea Party, which does beg the question, is this political or is this really about education?
It seems as though we're still chasing the ghost of the 60s and 70s.
Guys, let me say something about segregation of schools, guys. This is the thing, man. And this is just real shit, man. I don't give a fuck where you take black kids to. They're not going to be successful unless black kids start studying more than 30 minutes a night on their homework. They ain't got shit to do with the teacher. Lack of effort is why we fall behind. The more you could give black people free education, free college, all that shit. You know what that's going to do? That's just going to get a lot more black people out here with psychology, sociology degrees. Education is a hot button issue. It's an emotional issue for black people that a lot of people that espouse Sweden don't want to look at Sweden for real. Sweden is a school choice situation. They give the parents the ability to send their kids wherever they want to send them. But one of the things I will say about a kid, I think even if you give a child a parent school choice, that will force them to be a lot more accountable with what they're doing. That will create a lot of black wealth. I know you like, what are you talking about? Guys, there's a lot of black school teachers out here. Let's look at it. Like, for example, let's say they spend per year on average, let's say they're spending $25,000 per kid in a lot of these school systems, right? You got a teacher with 30 kids in a classroom. She's making $35,000 a year. There's over $750,000. She almost gets $750,000 drawn in per year for each child. Why not take that $75,000 or take that money and say, hey, let's spend half of it and give it to the teacher. The rest of it, the other half still goes into the system, but the teacher individually gets $500,000. First of all, you'll get more people going to be teachers. Second of all, those kids would benefit from the best and brightest going into it. Third, parents being more involved with who their child goes to school with and picking that shit, they're going to probably send their children to a black woman, black man to be an educator. And thereby, it might actually affect us culturally. Any non-biological behavior. Don't start that shit about we don't got no culture. But it will affect us culturally in that we will be more involved with our children's education. And by doing that, I think it'll change. School choice is probably one of the best things for black people. It really is. Thank you, King K. Let me keep going. Here you go, King. Meech, I'm gonna give it to you.
Well, here we go.
Lord, we're still back where we were. We're fighting the same fight back in 54. Why aren't the schools as good in the black community as they are in the white community? Why are the resources not there?
Now, take in mind, white people spend double the time black people spend on homework. And I know you like, well, that don't mean shit. Yes, it does. That affects your results. That affects your outcome.
Don't reach equitably and fairly reach those pockets that may have some high poverty schools. And I wouldn't label them as black and white. I don't think it's a racial issue. I think it's a matter of philosophy and priority. You were saying
Y'all hear them Hispanics in the background chanting. They right there with our ass, ain't they?
people are not sticking together is one of the reasons why we still have to march in the street. Well, we think because automatically because we have a black president that everything is going to change. But we need to change our mentality as a people. So are you saying that we succeed as groups or do we succeed as individuals? We succeed as individuals, but not enough of us succeed as individuals.
son, I can explain to you why doing 30 minutes of homework sets you behind the 8 ball. If I spend 30 minutes of homework and I'm a calculus student, you are fucked. Just by default, you're fucked. Okay? You're going to come to school, you're going to half-ass it. You're probably not even going to take calculus. You're going to take general mathematics. And you'll get out with a high GPA. You'll get out with a 3.2, 3.5, 3.7. But your ass will make a 17, 16 on the ACT. You won't get that scholarship, right? Or if you do get a scholarship, let's say you mess around, you do good on the ACT. You get a scholarship. Well, you don't like math because you spend 30 minutes a night. So what happens is your ass winds up going to college, majoring in psychology, sociology, shit like that, childhood education, right? And then you get out with student loan debt behind the 8 ball with a low paying job. 75% of Black PhDs are in education. So when you say the system is slighted against us, I will see you and I will raise you Black laziness and apathy as one of the main reasons we fucked in the education system. And you think it's slighted against you when it's not. When in all actuality, if you take the Black mind and you give Asians spend 4 times the time. For every second you spend studying as a Black kid, Asians spend 4, right? So Asians are at the top of the food chain. Not true, never late. Shit. Black people spend 30 minutes a night. I will debate anybody about that shit. Black people do not work hard in education. I'm just telling the truth. I don't fuck what nobody say. Black people do not work. So what you're saying is we're inferior. You got to watch what you say, brother. Because now you saying that so what you think is the Black people spend just as much time working on their education as everybody else. If that's true, that means we're really stupid and inferior to white people and we have a lower IQ. I just gave you the numbers. I just gave it to you. You don't like it. Black people don't spend Google it. This is facts. You caping for filthy system for this filthy system. I'm not caping for nothing. I'm giving you the information that you don't like. That's inconvenient ass information. That's your report card. Black people don't work as hard academically. And then you want to just act like we do. If we do, and yet we get the worst results, then shit, that means your ass just stupid. I don't think Black people are stupid. What's up, Johnny? Black people are not stupid. Black people do not work educationally. That's why we are where we are. You sound like a Democrat. Do your thing. Okay. I sound like a Democrat. Education is not our biggest issue. It's the lack of business and growing economic. I agree with that, Mr. Marcus. I don't have no problem with that. I'm not talking about education. I'm not. But I think education, if channeled properly, can be a great tool to Black people. So I know. Thank you, Norvell. This brother don't let me type it up for him. I'm gonna give you some links, brother. Let me give you some links. And I forget. I think people been on my channel for a long time. But I be forgetting, man, and people don't know this shit, man. They really don't. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and let's see. I got a chart. I think it's Brookings Institute. Is this it? Yep, I got you right here. Let me put it over for you, brother. Make sure I got you. I'm gonna take care of you, brother. I got you because people give me facts, give me information. I'm gonna show you the data, brother. I know you know what I'm saying. We love that shit, right? So let me show you what the Brookings Institute has to say about this shit. So here we go. Let me go right here. All right. Time high school students spent on homework by race and parents' income. Lower income kids spend less time, but Black people ain't even at. This is 30 minutes, brother. This includes Africans and immigrants now. So Black kids, ADO's descendants is probably around 20 minutes a night. 20 minutes a night. You know what I'm saying? And this is whites. They almost at an hour. They're like 50 something, 53, 54 minutes a night. Hispanics roughly about the same, a little bit less. Look at Asians, damn near 2 hours. This is telling right here, brother. This is telling. We spend the least amount of time. You think this doesn't affect us? So you telling me that if we spend the same amount of time as Asians, we wouldn't get the scholarships? That means we just not intelligent. Name that Brookings Institute, brother. This ain't shit. I could go find another one. Oh, he lying. Okay. I'm just gonna go find some random shit. I know what's gonna happen. We at the bottom every fucking time. We at the bottom. Less than once per week. Let's see. What's this? Average hours spent on homework percentage 9th through 12th grade. This is when the shit really count. 1 to 2 days a week, 20 minutes. 3 to 4 days a week, 40%. Oh, these are percentages. Okay, these are percentages. My bad. Let's see. So let's see. What is this? Average hours spent on homework per week by students who did homework outside of school. 6.3. Are these percent? Yeah, these rounded to zero. I'm assuming. Wait a minute. What is this? Let me make sure I'm looking at the right. I don't just want to jump into some shit. Let's see. Hispanic, Asian. This is real difficult. I ain't gonna sit here and try to read all this and waste time. Let's go find another one. We'll find you another one. Black people don't spend time on their work, man. That shit is a well-known fact. I ain't got no problem looking this shit up though. Like, students spend more time on homework, but teachers say it's worth it. You know, this is just a study. This ain't even about race. Just go look this shit up, man. The Brookings Institute I don't think they just take Brookings.edu. I don't think they just took this shit and just pulled it out their ass, bro. Let's see what it's come. Let's see what the source is. Survey 2000. This is a 10-year survey. Authors' calculations based on American time. U.S. survey. So this is it. Now we can look at this one too. Let's see what this is. See if I can make it bigger. So this is what is this? Asians. You know, and what is this? Percentage of group, time of day. It's around 2 o'clock. So Asians get straight out of school and get it in. By 4 o'clock, they were really at their zenith. Blacks, we at the bottom, ain't we? We always at the bottom. What is this right here? Income level. So obviously, if your parents are doctor, lawyer, different shit like that, the more money you make, the more, obviously you work harder. Low income student. Look at there. Not low income. So the higher your parents make, the time of day, your kids are really working hard, and it tapers off later in the day. So it's kind of, they correlate. These times correlate, but obviously you being outworked by the wealthy. That shouldn't be, right? Way off. You don't think that's an ego thing, Sean. You always coming here with some shit, just pulling it out your ass because you just want to believe. You obviously believe black people are inferior. I don't think black people are inferior. You do. Because if what you're trying to push, brother, is that black people are just stupid. And the only reason we are where we are is because they fucking with us. They doing something to us. So your child gets up, goes to a black high school, or taught by a black teacher, taught by some of the same books that their white kids across town doing. They both get out of school. Your child spends 20 minutes a night. The white kid spends an hour, right? And then you say it's racism, white supremacy. No, if you spend it 20 minutes a night, you're probably not going to be good at math. This is why when we go to college, we get the least amount of math and science degrees. This is a fact. You just want to be right, man. That's why every time I go lie somebody cackle. Son, I was a guy about guarantee every time you come in here, you on some bullshit though. Real talk. So that's just that, man. That's just that. I don't have to really argue that shit. I think the fact the data rings it out to be true. We get outworked, man. That's just the bottom line. Black folks don't want to hear that shit. You want to blame everything on racism, white supremacy. Go to House of Consciousness. You want to hear that. You want to hear the truth. You want somebody that really only racism, white supremacy. Exactly. Thank you. You need to go to House of Consciousness. House of Consciousness, brother. Those are your people. Hold on. Let me mute this for you. Go to House of Consciousness, man. They'll tell you it's racism, white supremacy. I'm gonna put your ass in timeout though, because I ain't got no time for this bullshit. That's what I'm finna do. Let's see. Put user in timeout. There you go, brother. Your ass in timeout. I don't hear that shit. Now, the point I'm trying to make is black people throughout history it's not always been racism, white supremacy, guys. A lot of racism, white supremacy. I'll be the first person to talk about reparations. I believe that black people deserve reparations. I believe black people have been done wrong. But I also believe that when Marcus Garvey said the shit he said about black people, he was telling the truth. when not Carter G. Woodson, W.E.B. Du Bois said something. There are certain observations that you can make historically. Booker T. Washington, a lot of people historically made observations about black people and certain habits that they had. Just because you had fathers in homes married didn't mean like black people were just angelics with halos over their head. They weren't. Black people we do dumb shit. Some of the shit that we do, we need to own up to. A lot of this shit we don't want to own up to. We want to blame this shit on racism. A lot of it is, a lot of it isn't. A lot of it has to do with just the outright apathy and laziness of black people that we don't want to hear. We are lazy in certain respects. We are, man. That shit is true. That's not me being a damn coon. That's true. Black people do dumb shit with their money. Black people we are the least hardworking when it comes to education. Black people save the least amount of money. This is facts. If you just reverse the shit that I'm naming, and white racism, white supremacy didn't change one bit, but you were disciplined with your money, you would be able to overcome a lot of bullshit that you think is racism. You really would, but you can't. You know why? Because you blame everything on racism and you refuse to look inwardly at your own fuck ups. That shit is a fact. I take that shit to the grave, bro. Complacent, yeah. And look, listen, I'll be the first one to say racism, white supremacy, white folks owe us reparations, this, that. But I ain't gonna just make excuses for no nigga shit either. Like, I'm not finna do it. I'm not finna say racism, white supremacy. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. What the brother was just saying is indicative of a lot of us as black men. This is why we fucked up. We don't want to take responsibility for our fuck ups. I do. I believe our fuck ups hurts us. I do. I don't. It's only white racism. Only racism. No. That means you got a low IQ and you stupid. You inferior. If you really believe that black people are where they are, then black people are inferior. We have to be. You know what I'm saying? Black people, either we're inferior, because think about it. Think about it this way. If he said racism, white supremacy, is you literally don't work. So he tried to deny the fact that we work. So what he thinks is we work just as hard as Asians do academically, right? Now I go around these people. I work with a lot of them. No, we don't. We don't. Them motherfuckers work 3-4 hours a day. Some of them. I know 4. We don't even talk about college. Them motherfuckers will kill themselves if they fuck up. Japanese are very notoriously known for committing suicide for shit like that, man. You fuck up academically, they think that shit is the end of the world. They'll jump off a fucking building about that shit. Black people, shit, man, I gotta see, man. Damn, that shit, at least I passed. That's how we are. We know that shit. Like, I'm not trying to put other groups above us like they better than us. I don't think that 1 minute. I don't think they're better than us, but part of somebody not being better than us has to do with us at least acknowledging our own, hang-ups and shit like that. If we don't do that, man, we're really setting ourselves behind the 8 ball. I'm willing to limb and say black people are where they are because of certain habits that we have, man. Yeah, we make bad decisions. Academics is clear. I don't think nobody can deny that black people lack, discipline in certain areas that hurts us, man. If not, then shit, then what you really are saying is that we just inferior because I work just as hard as an Asian that spends 3 hours a night. So you telling me that black people who test the lowest spending 2 hours a night just like the Asians do? Yet we test the lowest. That means we are stupid, and we're not. Because when you take black kids, and studies have shown this, when you take black kids and they study just as much as any other race, in fact, I think we outdo them. We actually outdo them when we put that much time in. We do. So that right there tells us that that's not true. We just been told some shit. I don't believe that shit. I don't. Let's see what you guys are saying. It says when we work hard, we beat them in school with no problem. Exactly. I've seen it. When I started hitting the books at the job training, I was the top award-winning student. Exactly. So I'll make the case that if we are half of what these niggas think we gods and stuff like that, if you really are what you think you are, then shit. I mean, why not just beat them motherfuckers? You better than they are. If you really believe half the shit that you tell us, that's Hotep shit, that they tell us about racism, white supremacy, and the black man is God. If you God, nigga, then you should be able to beat your children. You should be able to run circles around the ass. 2 words, black excellence. Thank you, Akizi. That's it. Black excellence. That you know, it's certain little things we don't want to hear, but you know, when it's all said and done, bro, that's what the shit is, bro. Like, ain't nobody finna tell me it's nothing different. That's what it is. We don't work. You don't put in the work, and that shit shows. And I see it all the time. You know what I'm saying? I see that shit all the time. And what happens is we want to try to bring this shit down to racism, white supremacy. That's the problem. I think we got too many people that think like that in our community. It's too many people that think racism, white supremacy is the deciding factor for a reason as to why the community is where it is. And it's not racism, white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? It's not. I'm trying to find a video that I had of a brother. Shout out to him. What's his name? Black man taking our community back. And I'm gonna find his video because he had a video where he was talking about discipline is a muscle. And I want you guys to see that is discipline is a skill. There it is right there. I'm gonna play this for y'all. And I'm gonna share my screen for y'all. Let me share screen. Share. This is my screen right here.
On here, talk to the brothers about, discipline. And this is not for me to brag or anything, because that's not what this is about. What this is about is discipline. I've always been, well, I ain't gonna say I've always been, because I haven't always been disciplined. I've actually not been disciplined, and I've actually had even more money sometimes, even when I was the most undisciplined. But undisciplined money definitely don't last long. And so I wanted to come on here and give brothers some motivation. Today, I would say that, this is me living off of, I try to live off less than 50% of my means. This is actually me just taking out a little money for a new property, ready to buy. And,
I just wanted y'all to see this. This is one of the subscribers on YouTube, one of the guys on YouTube. Shout out to him. Black man taking our community back. The brother's a full-time real estate investor. This brother got to this point by living on 50% of his income. He literally put half his money in an account. He lived on 50%. He said he calls it eating bitter. That's what he called it. He said it's a Chinese proverb called eating bitter. And no, I'm not mad, Sean Isaac. I just ain't got time for no bullshit. That's all. I ain't mad at you. But you come in my comment section, anytime I say something, you being negative, like a lot of brothers are. A lot of us, look, man, employees reflect leadership. The community reflects leadership. Sean is one of our leaders. He's a black man. He's a leader of something, supposed to be. And he's coming in just on some negative, destructive bullshit, trying to blame, don't want to accept no responsibility. I'm willing to accept responsibility, but not the blame per se. There's a difference. I don't have to take the blame for the black community. I do have to accept responsibility for the community moving forward, where we are and what you have to take a real assessment. Guys, if you want to get in shape, right? Well, what type of shape are you in now? When you go to the gym, what do? They measure your body fat. They have you run on a treadmill. They have you doing certain things so that in time you can kind of measure where you are, right? But when you got people that go to the gym and they say, I want to get in shape. Okay, well, let's measure your body fat. I ain't gonna measure my body fat. Well, I gotta measure your body fat to see where you are. You say you want to step on the stage and compete, right? Yeah, which is what I'm trying to do, right? So, okay, where are you now? I had to go get a DEXA scan. I had to go get, I measure, I write down, I keep a journal. How much do I rep out? How much, all right, how many times could I rep this out? How many times can I do this? How many times can I do that? Okay, when I eat and I work out, what is it versus when I'm fasted and I work out? What's a fasted workout versus a workout where I'm not fasted? You know what I'm saying? These are the different things that you have to be willing to, acknowledge, man. You're not willing to do that, bro. You in trouble. You're just in trouble, man. You know what I'm saying? So let's go. He got another video. I'm gonna play another one. He talks about that.
Hey, how's everybody doing out there? This is Black Men Taking Our Community Back, here with another segment that is very, very dear to my heart, called Win on Purpose. One installment that's going to be a part of an ongoing series. This one is going to begin with wealth creation for Black folks, or anybody who was listening, but primarily for Black folk, and what I feel will, invigorate the African American community in generations and generations to come. The reason why this particular Win on Purpose wealth creation segment is so important is because I think that it fits more so with the very nature of your average African American person in America. This is not an untested theory. This is something that has been proven to work. I've done it myself, have been doing it for a while. I know other successful Black men and women that have implemented this strategy, and it has worked flawlessly every single time. The reason I like it so much is because it's not predicated on everybody becoming some big entrepreneur. With this plan, you can essentially the same as an entrepreneur would, even while working for somebody. There's a Chinese proverb that you may have to familiarize yourself with to truly implement this plan the best. This proverb is called eating bitter. And what eating bitter essentially means is that we're living far beneath our means. And in my case, and soon to be your case, at least 50% below your means. And I know you're probably asking yourself, so what's the name of this plan and why does it work so well specifically for African Americans? Let me explain. Me understanding African Americans and the way we typically think, we're sprinters. We like to move fast out of the gate. We like to see big results. We like to see big things happen very fast. We also tend to have attention spans whenever it comes to long-term things. So as a result, this plan, I feel, is a better strategy for tackling this big beast called wealth creation. Not only that, we also know how to live on little and make little work for us in big ways. That instant gratification component of this plan that really, really triggers those endorphins, all of these things are necessary for long-term implementation. And that's why this strategy really, really works. I call this plan the 50-50 plan, whereby you take 50% of your earnings, stash that away into some type of savings account, and the other 50% you take that and put in your pocket. All right, now let's see how this works in the real world. You take a person that's making, let's say, $60,000, and we're going to alleviate the taxes for the moment just for the simple math. And we say 60,000, you're going to take 30,000, and the other 30,000, you're going to put that in some investment or investment savings account. All right. Now, what's the good news? The good news is that you're going to have $30,000 in your bank account in real raw cash at the end of the year. What's the bad news? The bad news is that all of your broke friends are going to appear to be living so much better than you. But what they don't know, but what you know, is that, yeah, they may look like they're doing a whole lot better, but you know that you're actually doing a whole lot better. But that's a question that you have to ask yourself. Would you rather look like you're doing better or actually be doing better? Now, why is this so important? Okay, in a new recent study done in 2013 by the Corporation for Economic Development and the Institute of Policy Studies, the report findings were kind of staggering. It focuses on the average wealth of Black, Latino, and white households in the United States. Uses data from the Survey of Consumer Finance. The wealth is a culmination of the value of assets, including home or retirement savings, subtracted by the debts owed against assets, right? Unlike other measures of wealth by race, this figure in the report excludes the value of durable goods like cars and electronics and things of that sort.
All right, so that's it. I'm gonna stop right there. But the brother basically saying you're living on 50%. It's a great video. I love it. Uh, just trying to, looking at it as a rule of thumb as to how you want to operate and move forward. So when you have that in your back pocket, that is something why I believe in a bootstrap thing, because I think that's what I'm talking about, doing what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? That every black person, if you got a job, you live a certain life, you set the tone of your lifestyle. If you living above your means right now, first thing you need to do is find a cheaper place to live. That's number one. You're driving, you upside down in it. Get a double, whatever you got to do, pay that car off. That's number one. Second thing you got to do, move yourself to a situation where you living below your means, and then take that money and bank it. That's number one. And you can move fast like you own a business. You can move with speed, accuracy, and moving and getting yourself in a better situation. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that when you stuck. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, man. So that's one of my favorite brothers. I like to. He's a YouTuber. So good brother though. I used to talk to him a lot. I know he's been busy. I ought to give him a call. I ain't talked to him in a while. But that's the thing, man. You know what I'm saying? I want us to get ahead. We're gonna have to get ahead by changing and at least looking in the mirror and being objective about ourselves and assessing ourselves. I don't think for 1 second that we're inferior. I believe, and I'm of the mindset that black people aren't inferior. Black people just need a realignment of the way they think. Should I say, just an adjustment in the way we think and what we have. You got a lot of black people that's making 80, 100, 200,000 that could probably be ahead way further along. Can I call those people that's making 200 a year and ask them for $5,000? Can they get their hands on $5,000 liquid? You'd be surprised. You're like, well, yeah. I mean, why couldn't they? They're making 4,000 a week. That money gone. That money gone. You see a black person making money, they look like it. A person making 200,000 looks like they're a millionaire. I'm just telling you. We can't afford. Black people, we think we're white. I know we think, what do you mean? Well, black people spend most of their money. We do. We spend every dime we get. I'm talking about for years on end. I'm not talking about right now you kind of strapped for cash because some stuff going on. What's your goal? Are you trying to get out of debt? Are you trying to move and get those things paid for? Because you are the borrower is slave to the lender. So you're going to be slave to your job if you're like that. But if you do what this brother said for 5 years, you're not slave to nobody, because you got almost 2 years salary liquid cash in the bank. You also got interest that's been drawn on that money. So you probably sitting on about $200,000 to $300,000 liquid in 5 to 6 years of just living better, as he just talked about. That is a free man. That's a free woman that doesn't have to answer to a white person. I don't give a damn what your IQ is. I think when we talk about everybody that thought when I was talking about education that I was talking about education to fix everything, if properly accessed and used. Now, if you take it and use it like we do use it now, education is a albatross around our neck that'll pull us down. But if we use education intelligently and apply that education in things like engineering, medical school, coming out as coders, developers, going into Silicon Valley, being innovators, using math and science like Steve Jobs did, like Sergey Brin, one of the founders of YouTube, the brothers that founded Sergey Brin, one of the founders of Google. The other brother, I forget his name. The brothers that founded the 4 guys that founded, or 3 or whatever, that founded YouTube. These are the people we need to talk about and talk to and pay and pattern our children after. Send your child to coding camps in the summer. Send your child to be challenged mentally, to learn and to be around these types of people. If you don't do that, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna be stuck like Chuck in a situation where you'll feel like we're trapped in a real life monopoly game, as they put it, in a lower rung of a real life monopoly game. I don't think I'm trapped in no damn real life monopoly game. I don't. I see so many opportunities as a black man in America. I'm not trapped no damn where, and neither are you. Now that's where I might disagree with Dr. Claude Anderson. I don't think you're permanently trapped no damn where. There's no reason why a brother making $40,000 is permanently trapped right there where he's at, where he's working. He's not trapped. He chooses to be there because of his spending habits, his reading habits, who he runs with, his friendship habits. All of these things affect your future. Who you listen to 24 hours a day. What are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you on videos talking about dating and black women, or are you on videos about how you can empower yourself? You know what I'm saying? The more videos I talk about these types of subjects, I don't get as many people as I will if I made a video about. I probably have 100 and some people in some mornings if I went live and talked about black women and how fucked up black women are. I get 100 people on there, 130 people. Or if I talk about some gossip shit or something, I get a lot of people on those videos. Those are my least watched videos. But the videos where I talk about, hey, let's do this. This is what you need to do to put yourself in a better financial situation. Those are the videos where you're gonna be bombarded with a bunch of bullshit. You just are. You know what I'm saying? I tell you right now, man. I'm speaking to myself as well. I'm not just talking to you guys like I got all the answers and I got everything together. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I need to work on a lot of shit my damn self. You know what I'm saying? I probably some of this, but not all of it. But I need to because I know this is something that will put us in a better position, strength wise, financially. You can't go and compete with your white counterparts if they live in a house that's worth $500,000 and they got a mortgage in the houses. They paying on the house. In 10 years, their house gonna be worth $500,000. They probably trying to double up on their mortgage. They're investing hard in their 401k. You're not, right? You living in a house that's worth half of theirs, right? So in order for you to be able to catch these people up, what if you live on half of your income? If you're making 75,000 and you're living in a cheap house, you know what I'm saying? Or you saying, well, shit, 75,000, you probably still can get a house for about 170, 160. And you could probably offer $75,000 income. You can get that's cheap. That's only 2 years, twice. That's actually probably a good rule of thumb to live in a house that's worth twice your year income. That's a good, comfortable amount you should be able to pay. So if you make $70,000, your house needs to be worth 140. That means you're only paying $900 a month. Not even that, probably about eight something, about $850. You know what I'm saying? Yep, that's it. It's how much you save, how much you keep, and what you do with it. There are a lot of people saving is for idiots. Yeah, okay. Tell that to most of the millionaires. You know what I'm saying? A lot of millionaires are made through 401ks and through Roth IRAs and stuff like that. Those invent a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Oh Lord, here he come with that socialism shit. So what you saying, brother? America's never invested in us. What's that gonna do, Menez? What's that gonna do for us, Menez? I mean, so what? China invested in their citizens. America ain't invested in ours unless you want to talk about the free education you got, the free high school education that you got. Did you get one? Did you use it? Did you use the education that they gave you, the free education that you got? Nope. So I mean, you got to take what you invest. People in technically the government has invested in your ass. Now I don't like it, but they have, and we don't get nothing from it. We don't get a damn thing from what our investment because it involves us having to work hard too. We don't like that shit. Oh, that ain't shit. Yeah, so I mean, if you put 30 minutes a night in homework, in some cases 20 minutes, then you're probably not gonna get the best. That means basically you don't do homework. You do an hour one night, you skip 2 nights, then you might come back and do another hour one night. And that's how that works. You know what I'm saying? That's why they said 30 minutes a night. That's on average. You know what I'm saying? So this is the biggest impediment to us as a people is mentality. You know what I'm saying? Income greater than expenses. Yep, good point. So I think it's mentality, man. I think mentality ruins us so much. It holds us back much, man. I think the mentality that a lot of black people have destroys a lot of wealth opportunities, wealth creating opportunities. They're kind of stifled by our mentality. They are. You don't have you when I say we're the wealthiest black people on the planet, nobody really takes that shit into account. When I just showed you how you can live on 50% of your income and live bitter, black people don't want to do that. So, but you want to talk about racism though. See, and I'm not talking about Mendez, I'm just talking about in general. People want to talk about racism, white supremacy, but we want to ignore shit that we can do to fix where we are. I don't give a fuck. You can work for a Klanman. You living on 50% of your money. Ain't shit. He gonna catch hell stopping you. A person with that type of discipline. Let me tell you something. Discipline makes you unstoppable. You can't stop a person who has committed to being disciplined. Most people are winners in life. They damn near almost guaranteed to succeed. You guarantee success damn near for a person like that. If you do what this brother just described in that video that I just played a second ago, you're unstoppable. You can't be stopped. How you gonna stop a brother like that? You can't. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a lot of the things that we don't want to admit to, is that we don't want to stop and look at ourselves and take a self-assessment and say we need to do better with our money. We have bad money management skills. We go and invest in other people's wealth and opportunities, like people come into our communities and run chicken spots, come and run little hole in the wall spots and make millions of dollars off our ass. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times I think we make up a lot of myths too that really we need to stop lying about. I'm gonna tell you something. I got a homeboy named Cal. He's from Senegal. He was Wolof, right? Nagadef, right? I used to him all the time. You know what Cal did? Cal moved here. Him and his homeboy Yaba. They moved here from Senegal, right? They worked in Applebee's for 7 years. Him and Yaba, and they cooked and washed dishes for 7 fucking years. And they would do 60 hours a week, both of them. They would split. They lived in a cheap apartment complex in Montgomery. I think the rent was like $650. They would work and do literally 14 hours a day. The manager loved them. They would always show up. They didn't argue with the manager. They wasn't gossiping. They would work, right? So what happened after about 7 years, they lived in I mean, I went to their place back then. The brother had air mattresses. Okay, they had that shit for years. Blow up furniture. Okay, so what happened? He did that, and then him and Yaba quit because what they did was they flew their wives over and they flew their cousins and sisters over and started an African Nubian braid shop in a cheap area of town. This was back when they were like the first people in Montgomery to have an African Nubian braid shop, because my mom does that. My sisters used to ride to Atlanta to go to the Africans and get their hair braided. I kid you not. They was paying $100 and $250 because Queen Latifah was on Essence magazine with a rap, and the lady that did her hair lived in Atlanta. My sister and mom rolled up there and got their hair braided from that lady. They paid $300, $350, right? Back then, it's cheaper now because everybody does it. But back then, about 12, 15, 16 years ago, in the South and maybe in certain parts, Africans weren't all over Alabama like that, like they are now. They everywhere. But back then, you could go and get them to braid your hair. Your ass was going to pay $200 and something, and it was nothing. It was a line of black women going in there. Now, these brothers kept washing dishes for about a year. They quit. With Yaba one day, he went to an auction. He asked me if he wanted to buy a car. They went to an auction and paid $5,500 cash for a damn truck. And I asked him, I said, man, where y'all get that money from? He said, man, we work, man. We save our money. You know, you Americans, you know, they should say, you know, you Americans, you guys like to have one apartment. You guys don't believe in living together, saving together. You know, me and Kyle, I said, how long y'all knew each other? They said, man, we knew each other when we moved here. You know, they met like in New York and moved to Alabama and got an apartment. That's what they did. This is why Africans have higher net worths than white people in America. They win. They know how to win. We don't. So we got to own up and take responsibility for that and say, man, we don't have the discipline that these other races of people have. And so you got to have discipline. I said people that have discipline are unstoppable. Nobody knew. He said that the manager at the Applebee's, they worked there 7 years. He didn't know that's what they was about to do. They averaged 60 hours a week. He said, man, we would work 12 hours a day sometimes. We would get there, they open at 9, we would work to damn near midnight. We would close. He said, man, I was pulling 13, 14 hours sometimes. I said, man, y'all ain't get tired? He's like, no, man, you know, we work hard. We work hard. You know, they always say that. We work hard, man. I'm a hustler. You know, he says, he tried to be funny. I used to laugh at his ass. I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler. You Americans need, he's a talk funny, but he knew I was a hustler too. But I admired that. I used to go to their house when their wives moved over, and they would cook, and the men would put newspaper. They would put newspaper down and prepare the food while we up there talking, and we would sit down. All the men would sit in one section of the house, and they would sit on the other side, and they would eat with their hands. I would eat food. I used to go to their house every day. These are the people you competing against. These are the oh yeah, and they kids. AB on the roll, off the top. AB on the roll. They kids came over, and they kids was killing. They was in junior high. One of them had a son in junior high. He was older, and the other kids was in elementary. All A's, and they didn't play about their education. They did not play by their education. They would be whenever I used to hang out at their shop because I know I can tell you where it's at now. I used to go over there because they had 3 shops in Montgomery after about a year and a half. They started opening up different locations, right? I would go in the locations and hang out with them. When I would come home sometime to visit, I would go see him, and they'll be sitting. Them kids would be in there studying all damn day. He'd be there. They would make them sit down and do their homework. They would sit there and work with them. This is the type of shit. This is so you got to kind of be smart as an African American and say, how can I learn from these people and look at certain things that come over here, and let's adopt some of their principles and some of their habits, their study habits, and their business practices, and let's try to put this stuff into practice. Do we all need to move in with roommates and sleep on the floor in air mattresses? No, but guess what? They didn't have no cable. They would watch DVDs. They would watch little cheap DVDs that they got from somebody. They would just watch them. That's how they were able to be successful, man. You know what I'm saying? What have we, I think we can benefit from that. Yep, I think that's one of the things. I agree with you, Aunt Fresh. I agree with you 1,000%. But that's why they are what they are, man. You got to get it to them, man. You got to get it to these Africans, bro. And that's something I see, that if it's racism, white supremacy, then Africans shouldn't be wealthier than black people, than white people. When you look at an African, you see where we could be, because they in the same oppressive system of racism, white supremacy as you are, until they open their mouth. And a lot of these Africans that have been here a long time, where their parents came over as immigrants, working in gas stations and shit like that, but the son's at Harvard, until he opens his mouth, until you see his last name, you don't know his ass is from another country. You know what I'm saying? So let me go, man. I got a meeting right now, man. Y'all have a good one. I see y'all.